Hey meatheads, David here. Let's just have a little guided relaxation for a moment. Everybody take a deep breath. Let it out slowly, and just notice the feeling of the air leaving your mouth or nose. Let your body go slack. Release tension from your toes all the way up to your head. Take a few moments to do so. Notice each time you breathe in, the way the air feels in your nostrils. Feel the breath as it passes your sinus passage and goes down to your chest, and then your belly. Your bloated belly, full of baked goods, roasted meats, wine, beer, and tea, whatever other holiday leftovers you might be swimming in at the moment. It's the new year, and we just wrapped up one more holiday retail season. Congratulations, everybody, for doing that, because it ain't easy. Here at the Meat Block headquarters, we salute all of the retail workers, restaurant workers, wholesalers, anybody related to the industry during the holidays. And it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of work. And now that it's over, we get to enjoy a little bit of downtime. So here's to another year of prosperity, good fortune, and not too many terrible customers.
Good cutting enhances the quality of good meat. Poor cutting results in an inferior piece of meat, regardless of quality.
Hello again, meatheads. David here. I'm with you today from sunny Northern California, extreme Northern California. It's the same every single day. It's super, super sunny. It's dry. It's about 35 degrees. I'm super thankful for the weather out here. There's no doubt about that. It's a welcome change from the Midwest, where winter just hates you and wants to kill you if it can, or at least break your spirit. No, I'm just kidding. There's a ton of good things to do in the Midwest in the winter, and it's really, really enjoyable. But my move out west, back west anyways, is one of many things I have to be thankful for this year. 2018 was all about learning new things, overcoming adversity, making new connections, disconnecting others. And 2019's, I think, going to be a year to enjoy all the challenges and opportunities that came up in 2018. Today's episode is going to be more about looking forward and what this slow time of year, traditionally slow time of year, can do for us. Of course, after the holiday season's over, there's a week or two of reworking or liquidating extra product from the holidays. And, that can be a pretty mad dash to try to sell out all that stuff, making value-added product out of forgotten pork legs or hams or rib roasts, whatever you unexpectedly have sitting in your cooler in this moment. Once that excitement's over, however, we head into the slow time of the year, which seems to me to last, until about March, whether you're in a cut and wrap or a restaurant or a retail facility. January and February can be pretty dark months. I think it's a great time, though, to add value to your crew by way of training, and you can get a lot of value out of strategic planning for this time of the year. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, I work in a shop that's busy every single day of the year, 365 days. It's turn and burn, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But maybe some of us out there are looking to expand, improve, refine, etc. And, we've got a ton of ideas, but don't necessarily know where to start. Personally, I live a lot of my daily work life through a complex system of sticky notes and a 3x5 notebook that I have in my pocket with about 15 pens, because you know how those like to grow legs. And I take notes throughout the day, when time allows and when I have a hand sink or sanitizer nearby so I can wash up after touching a pen and paper. But I usually document details from conversations with people, like the QC manager, or the asset manager, or the maintenance team. I write down ideas, inefficiencies, and any small fires that I notice when I'm on my way to put out a larger fire, anything like that. So at the end of the day, I've got a dozen or so sticky notes and several pages of my notebook to go through. It's great to have the opportunity to recall these moments that would otherwise get lost, in throughout the day. But how do you organize all this information that you're constantly acquiring or is rolling around in your head? And how do you use it towards planning in an efficient way, in a focused way? If you're not using a notebook especially, or have any sort of documentation or daily logging, just relying on your short-term and kind of mid-term memory to keep track of everything, that can really add an underlying river of stress that's just kind of always there because you've got these ideas that you're just trying to remember. So I think this is kind of a great time of year to clean out the closet, if it were, clean out the junk drawer of your mind, and use the information that you've gleaned from the past year to do some planning for your next 4 quarters. I've got a simple tool that is very common in the business world, with more like tech startups and more corporate business. But it can really work for anybody, any person or any subject, entity in any situation, to take ideas from the abstract to being organized on a tangible list. It's called a SWOT analysis. You probably have heard of it, maybe you haven't. It's a super common tool that businesses use to evaluate and describe certain items, such as the company itself, certain products, or even a specific production area within a shop or facility. Perhaps you want to improve your crew overall. Maybe your kill floor isn't functioning correctly as a unit, but so many things seem broken that you don't know where to start. Perhaps as a shop manager and owner, you're having a hard time developing yourself as a brand or identity for your consumers. Maybe you're quietly looking for a new job and would like to give yourself a personal evaluation because you essentially are your business. No matter what the reason, if you need to analyze something or use information towards planning for the future, this easy framework will help you make heads or tails of the information that you have access to. So, again, SWOT is a tool for strategic planning. It's basically a tool that allows you to analyze a specific subject and the environment in which it operates. So you're able to analyze it internally and externally. SWOT, SWOT, is an anagram for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Identifying strengths and weaknesses gives us kind of a candid look at whatever the subject is and how it operates internally, and areas where it may need to improve. Strengths and weaknesses both tend to focus their attention on the present moment. So, for example, let's say I'm doing a SWOT analysis on my processing room. I'm going to be identifying the strengths and weaknesses, and I'll show you how in just a couple of minutes, of that room. And then I'll be identifying the opportunities, the external opportunities for this room, and the threats to its well-being. And this will help you organize all of your information into those 4 categories. Identifying opportunities and threats give us a look at the external environment in which the subject operates. It could be your business. The opportunities and threats would give you a look at the local market or the local competition, kind of external forces that are out of your control that could pose a threat to the subject. This is part of the analysis that helps you look towards the future, whereas strengths and weaknesses are kind of focusing on the present moment. After we kind of go through how to set this up and you get the hang of it, this method can really help your business, but also it can help an individual. You can do an analysis on yourself to kind of understand how to set personal goals, maybe fill out an individual development plan or a personal improvement plan for yourself. And that's something we can go over in the next episode and show you how to put this information into practical use. So what's this thing look like? A SWOT analysis is, if you look online, there's a bunch of ridiculous templates to show you how to set it up. The way that I recommend is just get yourself a piece of paper, just a regular piece of printer paper, and divide this paper into 4 quadrants, 4 equal sections, just with 2 lines, just across in the center of the paper, setting up 4 quadrants. And you can label each one its own part of the acronym SWOT. So in the first box, you'll put strengths. In the second, you'll put weaknesses. In the third box, you'll put opportunities. And in the fourth box, you'll put threats. Next, you'll identify what your subject is. This could be, say, your VAP department or your kill floor or your oven-ready program in your retail shop. It could be your supervisor or management team if you're working at like a larger retailer. It could be your kitchen. It could be your lunch program in the restaurant. It could really be anything that you would like to look more into. It's a great way to divide your business into separate arms. And, strengths of one thing may be a weakness of another arm of your business. And so it's a great way to kind of assess the individual needs of different parts of your business. This method, like I mentioned, is super effective when used in tandem with like a personal improvement plan. So your subject can also be yourself, or it can be an individual on your team, or it could be potentially a way to evaluate hiring candidates by gleaning all the information you can and adding it to this diagram. It'll give you kind of a more balanced look, a more unbiased look at a candidate for a job. So let's use the example, let's say a processing room in a cut and wrap facility. That's going to be our subject here. Or it could just be yourself. So we'll kind of go through this method for either an individual person or a processing room for a cut and wrap facility. So now that we know our subject, our processing room, let's identify some strengths of this room. As someone that I've worked with that's been kind of a coach to me in the past told me, strengths are to be looked at as resources or capabilities that can be used to develop a competitive advantage. So what are the unique features of your subject? How do they stack up in reference to your immediate competition in the area? Competition is defined loosely as really, anything that you're working against and is taking up a share of your market. So it could be another butcher shop in the area, another cut and wrap facility. It could be it could be managers from other departments. It could be people that are looking to compete for jobs within your processing room. Some questions that you could use to ask yourself and name some of your strengths. Or here's a handful of examples. So, what do we do well in this cut shop or in this business or what have you? What do we do well? What unique experience or knowledge do we possess on our team? What geographic advantage do we possess? So, are we in an area that is known for having a great food scene, or are we in an area where ground is super cheap, and so it's very inexpensive to raise cattle, and so we are able to offer lower prices because we can buy cattle at a lower price? Are there certain location strengths that we have? What is our reputation or our ratings in the industry? How are we seen in our community? Are we active in our community? Do we kind of foster interest? Do we provide jobs? Do we do we ship out expensive product and sell locally at a rate that makes it attainable for people in our community? What's our reputation around town? Are there any unique characteristics about us? What makes us special from other facilities? What makes us special from other entities that are like us? If you're doing a SWOT analysis on yourself, personal SWOT, you're basically reviewing your identity, your personality, your abilities, and you're applying it to the SWOT analysis, and it'll kind of allow you to better yourself and advance your career, to fill in some holes or deficiencies maybe. So some questions you could ask yourself about your strengths. If it's a personal SWOT, you could say, you could ask, what are your qualifications? What are your skills? How is your level of self-motivation? Are you knowledgeable? What is your overall personal attitude? What are some strong points of your character, especially when it comes to leadership or management? How experienced are you? How are you as a communicator or as a listener? Are you able to keep composure during stress? Do you have a wide skill set or a more focused set? What influential contacts do you have or have you made? How about your mentors? What achievements are you proud of? Ask yourself all of these questions about your subject and go ahead and list these things. List the answers just as bullet points or as sentences. I wouldn't do it in a paragraph form. Make it just kind of seem like a list of information. Now that we've doted on our subject for a while, identifying strengths, it's time to get candid and talk about weaknesses. The more honest and humble, the better this section is going to work for you, honestly. It's a time to be brutally honest and very realistic. A great way to think about weakness is it's not that you're bad at something, it's that you lack strength in a particular area. This exercise shouldn't, drive you to drink or anything or make you feel bad about yourself. It's more weaknesses, and we'll get into this a little bit further into this explanation, but weaknesses are really opportunities to become more strong at something. So here's a handful of questions that you could ask about your subject when you get to the weaknesses section. What gaps are there in skill or qualification in your subject? How strong is your management? Do we have the right people in the right positions? Are there morale issues? Are your employees engaged or motivated? Are there equipment issues? How's your relationship with your local regulating or inspection body? How high is your turnover? How is your money management? How is your time management? If you're doing a personal SWOT, some questions you could ask yourself or about any person or candidate regarding weaknesses are, what are some gaps in qualifications that you have? What are some gaps in knowledge and experience? What are vulnerabilities that you or the subject may have? How is your overall disposition or attitude towards work? What are some traits of yours that have historically held you back? And speak to colleagues, friends, family, and get them to honestly assess your weaknesses, because you may not be able to do it just for yourself. And if you're talking about another person, say a candidate for a job interview, that's a great time. You can gather your weaknesses on this person through job references. It's a great time to gather information that way. I like to ask, what do I or what do we avoid doing? What limits me? What fears do I have? Weaknesses are an excellent indicator of how a company or an individual or whatever subject is growing year after year. The key to tracking that information is to reviewing or redoing your SWOT yearly or even every 6 months, just to see how your weaknesses have changed. So next, we're going to move down to the third box, and this is the opportunities box. These are various external factors that may provide a chance to grow, achieve goals, or just get a leg up in some fashion. For example, if you have a ready-to-eat VAP program that you wish was moving more product, and you hear that the other local smokehouse has had their grant of inspection pulled, that's a huge opportunity for you to grow your business in your local community. So, here's some examples of questions to ask yourself regarding, uncovering or identifying some opportunities. How can your business become more nimble and more flexible? Are there any opportunities as far as product development and flexing with eaters trends? How can you reduce costs? How can you reduce waste, shrink, labor, all of these things? Are there any opportunities that will allow you to lessen these costs? How can you declutter your daily process? I mean, this may be going through your HACCP plan and kind of decluttering it and removing redundancies. This could be tidying up some lines of communication in your hierarchy of your business, or it could be an opportunity as far as opening lines of communication with managers through weekly meetings. How well can you adapt to changes in process or market trends? How flexible are you there? Are there any new markets to grow into? Are there any geographical opportunities? Perhaps you're assessing your plant. One of your weaknesses is high turnover and low labor pool. You've realized that you're geographically very close to, say, a community college that has a culinary program. Maybe an opportunity would be to reach out to them and look for apprentices, people that are graduating a certificate program. They're looking to further their knowledge in meat production, or whatever your business may be doing. And if you're conducting a personal SWOT, some personal opportunities would be like, are there any available job vacancies, internal or external, as far as looking within your job or without? Are there any opportunities for support from your company or management? Are there any academic opportunities? Are there any geographical opportunities? Do you live close to, say, a community college that offers an agricultural business management certificate that lasts 6 months and maybe has nighttime or online opportunities? Are there any skill acquisition opportunities? For me, one thing that I'm going to look for now that I'm out here is I happen to know that there are a couple of mobile butchers in my area that have been in the business for over 40 years each. I guess they're total studs out in a field on farm kills, and I know that I could learn something. I could learn a ton from somebody with experience like that. I mean, you can learn something from anybody. So I'm viewing that as a skill acquisition opportunity. I'm going to try to track these guys down and see if I can't spend a couple weekend kills with them, and just to learn some new things. There's always things to learn. In my personal SWOT this year, I identified as an opportunity, I'd like to spend more time with one of my cutters at work that has 4 times the experience that I have, and he's just an incredible worker, and he's not going to be there forever, and I see this as an opportunity to soak up some knowledge before he's gone. Do you have a current individual development plan or personal improvement plan? Is there an opportunity to assess yourself through that? Maybe you don't do well with working for a corporation, or maybe you prefer to be in more of a kind of a bootstrap shop, tough love type place. Are there any opportunities there? Do you have any additional skills to bring? Anything that you have never used in the workplace but realize that you're good at? Maybe you're a meat cutter and you're working in a retail shop and you're an excellent artist, super talented. Like Sean Kelly, that man, he's a super talented guy. You could take over the duties for merchandising, perhaps, and that would be a way to, bring yourself more money and be more involved with your shop operations. Lastly, this is where we identify the threats to the subject. These are external factors that could be detrimental to the subject, whether it's yourself or your business or whatever. Threats are out of your control. However, preventative plans or contingency plans can be put in place once you identify these threats. So this is kind of, you are, again, looking towards the future in this section and identifying these things that threaten you in order to put some plans in place to be better prepared for that. One big threat that I think a lot of us in this industry worry about is how is technology changing? Are kill floors becoming more automated? Are technologies taking away jobs? Is technology becoming obsolete and you're going to have to spend more money in upgrading in order to stay relevant? Operating costs are a huge deal. Another threat could be aging equipment. Weakness. You could have shoddy or poor equipment, that would be under your weaknesses, but you could have really aging equipment, or you could have some processes that are going to be broken within the next 9 months. That would be a threat because it's in the future. How strong are your competitors in the area? And how deeply rooted are they in your community? What are some geographical challenges or threats? I live at the base of a mountain that is classified as a high risk and it's going to blow like any day. Is that a threat? I guess maybe it would be if I was talking about, buying 1,000 acres right at the base of the mountain to raise sheep. Would the volatility of that volcano be a threat to my plan down the line? I don't know. How are market or consumer trends changing? How are eating trends changing? In the retail shops and in the restaurants this time of year, it's a good time to reflect on the eating trends from the past year and look forward to how those may evolve. And, if you see a changing market as a threat, you can very easily turn that into an opportunity by planning for it. How is the media changing? Food and Wine, Bon Appetit, the Food Network, all kinds of weird reality shows and shit. Facebook, Instagram especially, the way that the media is portraying foods is really... it really affects our industry a lot. And you think about back in the 90s when everything was fat-free. Well, that was pretty hard for like prime beef. Everybody wanted 90-10 grind and things of that nature. And, the way that the food writers and the health writers are portraying things at any given time could really be detrimental to our business if not planned for. What's changing socially, in the economy or in politics? If you're, say, a pork producer and all of a sudden there's a different economic and political policy with exporting pork, your main customer was overseas, it's no longer conducive for you. It's no longer possible for you to make your margin in shipping. That would be a major threat from something that's changing socially. If you're performing a personal SWOT, a couple things that you could kind of dig into would be like, what competition from rivals are there within your company? Perhaps you're looking to slide into a position when someone leaves. Are there 2 or 3 other people that are interested in it? I don't know. Are you disconnected? Are you disengaged? Are you checked out from your job? Do you have a changing of management that's going to perhaps cause a restructuring and put your job in jeopardy? Are your skills relevant or obsolete due to upcoming market changes? is your company going to need one less packer because of the new roll stock machine that you're getting and you're going to be out of a job? You would want to turn that into an opportunity by asking for a meat cutting apprenticeship if you were a packer. What obstacles might limit your personal progress? That's really what we're looking at here as far as threats. Could any of your weaknesses lead to threats if not assessed or and then acted upon? So go ahead and write any and all of these threats down in a list form. And then once you're done, just kind of go through each one of the 4 boxes and take a look at your lists and think of anything that you're forgetting, or perhaps that you want to move to a different category. You feel like it would be better categorized as a weakness rather than a threat. The next step is to turn these loads of information into actual tangible actions and action plans. And so the first thing you want to do is prioritize. This is a lot easier if you're on a computer, if you've got if you're doing like kind of a spreadsheet, or you could just number things. Put numbers in order of high priority to low priority. You want to go ahead and prioritize each item in your list for each box and see which of these need your attention first and foremost. And then again, you want to make sure you're eliminating any redundancies. If you have anything that's kind of the same thing worded twice, I know some of the questions that I asked as examples were kind of the same question worded in a different way. So kind of tidy it up and trim it down so that you can focus your energies. And then when you're addressing the issues, this is kind of how I like to start by looking at it. So you've got strengths, opportunities, and you want to use your strengths to take advantage of opportunities that you've identified. So if you can make a correlation between any of these, that's a great way to see a direct plan of action. Strengths and threats. In this case, you want to use your strengths to eliminate threats if possible, or to use your strengths or your subject strengths to fortify your weaknesses in order to eliminate threats in the future. You've got weakness opportunities. And what you do here is you want to improve your weaknesses by taking advantage of the opportunities that you've identified. So if any of those line up, that's a great way to have a direct path and an action plan. For example, one of our weaknesses is high turnover and, again, a difficult labor pool to pull from. Maybe you're not getting a lot of applications. Maybe you don't have a lot of job prospects. Well, an opportunity maybe you've identified would be the local community college with the culinary program. And so there you're able to improve your weakness by taking advantage of an opportunity. Maybe one of your strengths is communication and being the face of your business. So you could use your strength of your character and personality by taking that advantage of an opportunity through your local school to improve your weakness, thereby thwarting the threat of having no employees in the future. So you can draw these straight lines between different things. Once you've got all of this information figured out and you can see some direct correlations between your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, you can then begin to plug that information into financial planning, action planning, various things that you're going to do for the year. Maybe you're in a retail shop and you want to kind of plan the arc of your season, maybe some product releases, various things like that. And maybe for you personally, you can use this information in what's called, and I mentioned this earlier in the episode, an individual development plan or a personal improvement plan. And in a very shortly upcoming episode, I'm going to discuss those, how to set those up, how to do one for yourself, how to do one for employees, and what the difference is between the two. Because PIP, personal improvement plan, is more of a disciplinary action, and IDP is an individual development plan, and it's it's focused towards the future and positivity. And while they're very, very similar, it's just kind of how how you roll those out that makes the difference. So anyways, again, the SWOT analysis I think is very, very useful for strategic planning for the upcoming year. And if anybody is interested in a template for it, I have a template that I use in my business. Drop me a line at A Farm Butcher on Instagram or at the meatblockpodcast@gmail.com. We'd be happy to provide you with any sorts of management templates or spreadsheet templates if that's something that you're interested in. All right. So again, Happy New Year, everybody. Don't get caught up in all this like New Year, new me shit. Or any like cold turkey diets or any weird shit like that. Just be thankful for the last one and look forward to the future, and continue to keep your knives sharp and live in the margin. I'll leave you with a song from my favorite release of 2018 by a Seattle band called Big Bite. This is their song Relentless Healing. I hope you enjoy it.
Tell you once